What's up guys, my name is Matthew and today I'm going to be recommending books that are set in all countries around the world. If you're anything like me, you're probably craving to going on a vacation, and either because of work or finances or COVID, you are stuck at home and you cannot go on a trip around the world. So I decided that I'm going to gather up all the books that I can think of that are set in different countries around the world so that I can recommend books that'll give you the experience or the feeling like you are actually in that country. A disclaimer, I am not saying that these books are the best at describing the country or best give the feeling of the country. The majority of these books that are set in countries that I've never been to, so obviously I can't speak to that, but I think these books are fun, escapist reads, and will give you the feels of going on a vacation or being in an exotic land that you've never been to. Also, some of these recommendations are a little bit better than others, meaning that obviously there's books that are set in England, but it's kind of irrelevant that it's set in England. Like if that book could be set in Washington, D.C., England, or India, and it doesn't matter because the plot isn't about the location. So I try to not include those, but I will admit that some of my recommendations are better than others because the city or the country is a bigger part of the book than others. But I'll try to let you know as I go through the video. Also, I'm going to leave timestamps to countries in case you're looking for a particular country. Obviously, I don't have every country in the world. I don't know if I have each continent or each, area of the world. So I'm gonna have to ask for some recommendations from you guys, but I try to encapsulate, is that the right word? I try to gather as many different diverse countries that I could find, but obviously I'm sure I left some areas of the world out, and I will ask you guys for help in filling that in. Okay, where to begin? Let's begin in Ireland. Okay. If you've been following my videos, you know that I just read one of the best books of all time, The Heart's Invisible Furies, and I think this is an excellent example. I think this is an excellent book if you're looking to explore Ireland, particularly between 1945 to 1980. It does get up all the way to present-day Ireland. However, most of this takes place in the past. It's about a gay man named Cyril, and pretty much this book, we're just following his whole life, his experience coming out as a gay man in Ireland in this time period. Just what he's had to go through. This book is beautiful. If you haven't read it, like me, you were waiting for so long, pick it up now. I promise you won't be disappointed. It won the 2017 Book of the Year award, so it's worth the hype. We also get to experience Amsterdam in this book for a few chapters, not too long, but we also go to Amsterdam. We also go to New York and various parts of Ireland. But I think this is probably the best book I can think of that is set in Ireland. For a little bit of a different vibe for Ireland, probably isn't the best to describe Ireland, but The Guest List by Lucy Foley is set in an island off of the coast of Ireland. And yeah, obviously this isn't gonna be about Ireland, but it's in the area and it's set in the book. But this is a book if you're looking for a closed room mystery. I always say that Lucy Foley is our modern Agatha Christie, which is a big compliment to her because, that's a big deal. She does a really good job at writing closed book mysteries. If you know what that means, if you don't know what that means, a closed book mystery is where you have a group of people and they're all trapped in a location, whether it be, an old mansion in the 1960s so no one can escape, or they're at a wedding party on an abandoned island and no one can get off the island because of the bad weather. So dun dun dun, somebody in the wedding party is murdering someone, and this book follows different perspectives as we're trying to figure out, one, who got murdered, and two, who murdered them. And it was so fun. It's probably not the best depiction of Ireland. I don't think Ireland is even considered part of Ireland, but I know that it's mentioned in this book. So it's a weak example. I think The Heart's Invisible Furies is probably a better example, but I wanted to throw this one out there just in case. Also, I'm shocked I like this book because I usually hate Reese Witherspoon books of the month because don't even get me started, but I was shocked. I actually like this one. This is the first Reese Witherspoon book that I actually enjoyed. All right, let's stay in the area and we're gonna jump to the UK. The first book in the UK that I'm going to recommend is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. This is a male-male romance set in, I'm pretty sure, London. I do think they go in different parts of the UK in this book, but primarily in London. It is a fake dating trope. So one of our characters has a father who He's a famous rock star, but he's retired. He's kind of, like not in the limelight, but he's, I think, releasing a new album, or he's coming back into the spotlight. And his son is this like troublemaker who's always in the tabloids because he, gets drunk or hooks up with people and it's all over the news. So he's trying to clean up his act for the reporters, and he meets this guy, Oliver and him start fake dating. And it's a cute book. It's not one of my favorite male romances, but it does give you the London vibes, and it's a very good book if you're looking for a UK book. The next book I'm going to recommend in the UK is My Oxford Year, and this is actually set in Oxford, so like where the university is, and it is a male-female romance. I used to own this book. I could not find it on my shelf. I don't know if I donated it or let a friend borrow the book, but I can't find it. But it's a very cute book about a girl. I think she's from the United States, and she goes to Oxford, maybe for her master's degree, and she meets a guy, and that's about all I remember, but I do know it gives you all of the university feels, all of the Oxford University feels. Not that I've ever been to Oxford, but I think it did a good job of depicting the university, like real places on the university's campus, whether it be bars, whether it be dormitories, whether it be, buildings. So if you're looking for a book that is set in Oxford, I would definitely pick up My Oxford Year. Following the UK, this is a weak example, but this one's set in Scotland, and it just came out. It was the September Book of the Month picks, rock, paper, scissors. It's set in Scotland, I think it's like northern Scotland, and like the mountains, and it was very snowy. If you're looking for a very snowy, atmospheric book that is a psychological thriller, this is about a husband and a wife who are struggling with their marriage, and they won a trip up to the Scotland cabin that used to be a church. It turned into a cabin, and we're trying to figure out why did they really win this trip? What's really going on? And it's dispersed between different perspectives with the husband and the wife. And it's also gives us each few chapters, you get a letter that the wife wrote to the husband that she's never shown the husband, just kind of expressing her experience with the marriage. And we get that perspective. This book is very well done. It's one of the best thrillers of 2021. And I'm gonna recommend it for Scotland. Not that I've ever been to Scotland, but just if you're looking for that snowy, very cold, atmospheric vibes, I would definitely recommend this for Scotland. All right, let's go to Sweden. First one I'm gonna recommend is Anxious People by Fredrik Backman. This is a contemporary, I would classify it. I mean, it kind of sounds like a thriller when I explain it to you, but it's not really a thriller. It's about this apartment that's being shown because people are trying to look to see if they wanna rent the apartment or buy the apartment. And while they're in the apartment, a robber's fleeing from trying to rob a bank, and the robber takes the people in the apartment hostage. And it's just so that sounds like a thriller, right? But it's really not. It's really just almost kind of a character piece of exploring, the human emotion. That sounds really cheesy, but all of these different people in the apartment have their own story, and we're trying to figure out the story of the bank robber, is how the bank robber got to this point in their life. And it's just a really, really pretty story. I was shocked that I didn't have more books for France, because I'm surprised that I haven't read more books that are set in France. The only one I could think of is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and I'm sure you've heard of this one. It is a beautiful World War II book about two sisters who are doing their own kind of fighting against the Nazis during the World War II, and some of them are trying to hide Jewish people from the Nazis in France, and kind of gives us a perspective of what was happening in France during World War II. And one of the sisters is actually trying to smuggle people across the border and acting more as a part of the rebellion. It spans many years. It is a beautiful book. It is one of the only books that has ever made me cry. It is so beautiful. But I will say this is much more in the past. I'm trying to think of a modern book. There's someone right outside my door, so I feel like I'm whispering, so I feel like someone's right there. But I think this is more of a past France book. I really want to read books that are modern day, set in Paris. I feel like why have more people not writing love stories in Paris? Isn't Paris supposed to be about love? I'm not reading them, so please recommend me some more books in France. That's definitely a country I've not read many books set in. This was the only one I could think of. All right, let's try to do Italy. I have so many freaking books for Italy, but thankfully I have a lot of different parts of Italy, I think. The first one I'm going to recommend is Call Me By Your Name. Duh, everyone knows I love this book. It's a beautiful movie as well. This is set in the Italian Riviera, and it's about a guy named Oliver and Elio, and Elio lives there with his family, and every year they have an American come who's trying to study, I think it's linguistics, and Oliver comes to Italy to study linguistics with Elio's father, and it's a male-male romance of just them meeting and their love story, and Andre Aciman's writing style is beautiful. A lot of people don't like it, but I think that he's one of my favorite authors just because he does a great job of capturing emotions, hard to put into words. But this does a really good job of explaining this. Like, I felt like I was in Italy. The author does a good job of like setting up the stage. Where are we? You get all like, it's like summer in Italy vibes, and it's a very good escapist book. It is very sad, very hot and steamy, in my opinion. If you haven't read this book, I'm sure you've heard of it. I would at least give it a try, or if you're not feeling it, watch the movie. The movie is beautiful. Timothy Chalamet and Armie Hammer are in it. Timothy Chalamet got nominated for an Oscar for the movie, but this is a great book if you're looking for Italian Riviera vibes. All right, let's jump to Venice. So this is A Beautiful Crime. It is a male-male like romance, but not really. It's about these two Americans who are going to Venice to try to sell artifacts, like fake artifacts, to this art dealer. And they're in Venice and give you all the Venice vibes. And I think it does a really good job of exploring Venice and giving you the vibes that you feel like you're in Venice. I've never been to Venice, but I thought this book did a good job of laying it out. This book wasn't a 5 out of 5 or anything like that, but I think it does a good job. If you're looking for Venice, if you're looking for a book set in Venice and kind of the thriller vibes, but it's not too thrilling. It's a fun book, very interesting and thought-provoking, but I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for Venice vibes. The next book I'm going to recommend is called Sex and Vanity by Kevin Kwan. Kevin Kwan's one of my favorite authors. This is set in the island of Capri in Italy. Pretty sure it's in Italy. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's an island off of Italy's coast. And this is a book that is set in half on the island of Capri, then the other half of the book is set in New York City. My favorite aspect of the book was when they were in Capri, because Kevin Kwan does a beautiful job of just setting up a country that you've never been, and setting up an area that you've never been to. Very descriptive. I have more books by him that I'm going to recommend later in the video. But in this book, we have a girl named Lucy, and she's on the island for, I believe, a wedding, and she meets this guy named George, and she hates him, and she thinks he's like a know-it-all, and, you know, typical hate to love trope. But while you're on Capri, you're going into the village, going into the glamorous parts of Capri, and also, you know, the not so glamorous parts, and it's just such a beautiful book. The second half of the book is set in New York, but my favorite parts of this book were while they were in Italy, because I just said the author did an amazing job of just describing it. I was like, frick, I want to go to Italy now and just go to this place. I was like, I want to get married here because it's so pretty, and I've never even seen pictures of it. Just the way he describes it, it sounds amazing. But yeah, Kevin Kwan's probably my favorite author when it comes to escapist travel books, like where you're like, oh, it's set in an exotic land that I've never been to. Obviously, it's probably not exotic if you're from Capri, but for me as an American, I've never been there, and I was like, he sold it to me and made me want to go so bad. So definitely pick this up. It's not as good as his Crazy Rich Asian series, which I'm going to discuss soon, but it was still a fun read and made me really, really, really want to go to Capri. I can't do a travel reading vlog. Is that what this is? I don't know. Travel recommendation vlog without recommending Dan Brown. Dan Brown gets so much shit on Goodreads. I was reading people's reviews and people are so mean to him. Like, he's a pseudo-intellectual. His books are so bad. They're not true. Like, you need to calm down. Like, this is not that serious. This is a fiction book. And he does sorry, that was me just like complaining, because I think people are just trying to act like they're hot shit because it's cool to hate Dan Brown. But this author, if you don't know who Dan Brown is, he has a series of books following this professor named Robert Langdon. And Robert Langdon is a symbologist, maybe. I think that's what he is. And he can am I confusing the National Treasure with Nicolas Cage? Okay. He's a Harvard professor. I don't really know what he did at Harvard, but he always gets called in to solve this mystery because people are leaving him clues. I think he's a symbologist, leaving him clues, and he has to decipher it. And he always goes to a foreign city, and when he gets to the city, shit's going wrong. Something big's happening, y'all. We have to figure out what's going on. There's usually a group of bad guys trying to stop him from figuring out what's going on. 3 books of his with the Robert Langdon series are set in Italy this is the first one. Angels and Demons, The Da Vinci Code. I'm sure you've heard of the Da Vinci Code. These are both set in Rome. They go to other places too, but they're primarily in Rome. And the last one is The Inferno, which is primarily set in Florence, Italy, I believe. And I'm not gonna go into all the details of each book. But I promise you, if you're looking for a book that will take you and just throw you into a foreign country, you will feel like you are there. It's a thriller, so you're fast-paced. He does a great job of explaining all the museums, all the significant landmarks. He just does a fantastic job. And I don't understand why he gets so much hate, because I think he does an amazing job at it. I have never been to Italy, but I've been to Spain, and I'm about to explain Spain books. And he did a part of Spain that I lived in for a year, and I thought he nailed it amazingly. So don't believe people when they try to tell you that Dan Brown books suck, because they don't suck. They're amazing escapist reads. And if you're looking to fall into a book where you will not be able to lift your head, I definitely recommend those books for Italy. Let's jump to Spain. The last book he came out with is called Origin, same Robert Langdon series, but this starts off in a city called Bilbao in northern Spain. I actually lived in Basque Country, which is where Bilbao is, for like a year, and it picks up in this museum, and it's such a random museum, but I was like, wait, I've been there. I think I'll put a picture here, but I was like, this is so weird. I've actually been to this museum, and like something big happens in this museum, and then it turns into this huge thriller, and it takes place all over Spain, and it's fantastic. I don't understand why people don't like his books. I think it's because people are trying to be snobby, and they're like, oh, these facts aren't true, or oh, you think you're so smart. This is a work of fiction. Have fun with it. Don't take it so seriously. And yes, he does do a great job at explaining landmarks. I don't know why you're... Sorry, I got so frustrated reading reviews for Dan Brown for people trying to act smarter than they are. There we go. And if you want a book that you just escape, like you will feel like you're in Spain, you will feel like you're in Italy. If that's what you're looking for, pick up Dan Brown books, because he's like the best at it. But yes, those are the Robert Langdon books that I recommend. He also has one, and oh my God, no, this one's ripped. He also has one set in Washington, D.C., but that's obviously not foreign for me. But yeah, he has a bunch of books in different cities, and I recommend them if you're looking to escape. All right, where should we go next? I guess we will go to Asia. So I already mentioned Kevin Kwan. He is a fantastic author. I cannot wait for him to release more, and it might sound cliche, but I'm gonna recommend them anyway, because if you have not read them, you are missing out, I promise. And they are the Crazy Rich Asian trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. I don't think he's coming out with any more. But Crazy Rich Asians, if you haven't seen the movie is, if that movie did not make you want to go to Singapore, no, something's wrong with you, because that movie was amazing. The book is even better. I read the book after watching the movie and still loved the book. Kevin Kwan just does a great job of just like Dan Brown, taking you to a city and just showing you the beautiful, I'm not articulating this correctly, but the opulence, all of his books deal with really, really rich people, so you're getting the rich side. I'm sure obviously not all of these countries are, as glamorous. He does a good job of explaining the glamorous nature of these countries and making you want to visit. And this one, if you didn't know, it's about an American who meets a woman, and he flies back to Singapore for his cousin's wedding, and this girl had no idea he's rich, and she gets there, and he's like crazy rich, like not just rich, like crazy rich. And the first book follows their love journey. The second book, I'm not going to describe, but I will tell you it takes place in mainland China. It takes place all over the place, but it's primarily mainland China, and it's picking up where the last book left off, exploring different characters that were in the first book. I can't even, please read these books. They're so good. I feel like people don't read these books that I've seen on book 2, because I guess they think it's too, the movies are coming out, the books are so much better. It will make you want to go to Asia so bad. I remember reading about Singapore, and I was like, that's jump to the top of my list, because I was so enthralled by it. The last one is China Rich Girlfriend. I think this one is in China. I think I wrote it down. I did a little research. It's Manila, Philippines. So this one goes to the Philippines, Hong Kong, and India. I think there's a part of it that was set in India, but this is the third in the trilogy, and I'm gonna reread these books soon, especially since I think the second movie will eventually come out. It's taking forever to come out. Why is that movie taking so long? But I mean, if you've seen the first one, it's beautifully well done. It just, so good. This is just like Dan Brown said, escapism. If you want to just jump into this world, this beautiful, glamorous world, please pick up this series. I promise you won't be disappointed. And I'm glad I watched the movie first, because it helped me understand who is who in the book, because I'd already seen the movie and seen how it all fits together. All right, let's jump to Australia. The first book I'm going to recommend is Jane Harper's The Survivors, which takes place on the Tasmanian coast, which I'm pretty sure is part of Australia. I might be wrong. But this is like a book. It's kind of like a beach town, kind of like a secluded beach town. It is a thriller, but what makes this book so good is the atmosphere. You really do get the vibes of being on this, chill beach town where everyone knows each other, very small town. And this book is following a guy who grew up here, and his brother died tragically years earlier, but he's coming back. I forgot why he's coming back, but he's coming back, and a local girl goes missing, and secrets about the night that his brother disappeared kind of intertwine with why the girl that just went missing disappeared. And I thought this book was fantastic. I love the vibes. I will say I think the whodunit fell flat. Like once the big reveal came, I was like, oh, okay. Like I was like, that's it? Like, I mean, I didn't guess it, but I was still just kind of like that. I was like, oh, I read all these pages for, okay, cool. I feel like you picked a name out of the hat and you've made that person or persons the killer or guilty or whatever. So I felt the ending was flat, but the atmosphere was fantastic, super beach town vibes in Australia. I'm currently reading Apples Never Fall, which is set in Sydney, Australia. I have not finished it, so I'm not gonna recommend this book to you, but if you're looking for more of a suburban city vibe as opposed to a beach vibe set in Australia, I think this might be a good one. Check my wrap up when I give my actual thoughts about this, because I might end up hating this book, but I'm reading it right now. I know it's set in Sydney. But yeah, that's Australia. All right, finally, let's jump to Mexico. I'm gonna recommend Mexican Gothic. This is a horror book set in the 1950s or 60s. I don't know, but I know it's set kind of in the past. And this is a haunted house story, kind of. This girl gets a letter from her cousin saying that she's, her husband's not treating her properly, so she goes to Mexico to kind of help her cousin, and weird shit starts happening, unexplainable stuff. The first half of this book is super, super, super slow. Second half of the book picks up, and it's so fun. The revelation is fun. In my opinion, I've never heard anyone else compared to this, but I think it's very Get Out vibes. But I haven't heard anyone else compare it to Get Out, but I think it's like Get Out. But yeah, horror book set in Mexico. Finally, I have a book for Central America. I can't remember if it was Nicaragua, Honduras, or Guatemala. It might be all of them, actually. It's about this 19-year-old girl who goes to Central America, kind of like on a biking trip. She starts off with a tour group, but she's like, screw this. She meets a boy, and she wants to go on her own on the hiking trip, and it's just kind of a book about self-discovery, a little bit of romance. What does she want to do with her life? And, there's scenes of her like climbing a volcano, going on boat trips, going to parties in different countries, and it's just super young adult, but very cute, and I think it did a very good job of just outlaying, Central America. I wish I could remember what country it was, but I can't. But I know it's in Central America. Those are the books that I am recommending for different countries. Like I said, I'm not saying these books are perfect illustrations of what that country is like. I also am aware that I did not hit every continent, every country. I'm going to try to read as much as I can to make sure I hit everything, but those are my recommendations. If you have recommendations for a country or area of the world that I did not discuss, please drop them in the comments below, because I'm always looking to explore and read new books. I just realized that I probably have books in Canada that I've read, but they're not coming to mind, so they're probably nothing special. But yeah, that's that, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video soon.